Good morning. Happy Sunday. Welcome into Let's Bet It here on Pickswise and Pickswise.com. I'm Mark Zinno. He's Jared Smith. Let's Bet It is brought to you by Superbook Sports. Download the Pickswise app on Apple Store, free on Google Play as well. Subscribe to the Pickswise YouTube channel. Leave the comments below. Let us know what games you're on, what questions you have. We'll get to them all here on this Sunday as we get the day started with injury updates, line moves. We'll get it propping with Bobby Stanley, a.k.a. Prop Holliday, here on the show. We'll get some key games from Week 13. We'll do some teasers as well, and, of course, our plays of the day. Jared, now that we have the college football regular season and championship weekend in the rear books, we can turn our attention to the NFL, and we will do so here, getting things underway. But how are you doing on this Sunday morning?
Great. It's a very exciting morning. I think it's going to be one of the better NFL days of the season. There's some of the matchups that I would say are very tantalizing from a handicapping perspective. The fear is that there's a little too much hype before some of them, but I would say three of the games, and I know we're going to talk, I think, about at least two of them on this show today, are probably some of my favorite handicaps of the season in terms of the matchups and the trends and, you know, the coaches and what it means and some of the behind the scenes stuff, the revenge narratives. Like it's a really fun week to handicap the NFL. And yes, now we can fully turn our attention really to the NFL over the next few weeks while college football takes its holiday break per se until we get into bowl season, a couple weeks down the road.
Yeah, not only that, I think this is probably the best NFL card we've had in 1 week all season long, given the quality of the games that we have. But we do have some injury updates to get to. Josh Jacobs, calf strain, questionable against the Chargers. By all accounts, looks like he's going to play. Obviously, that's a 4 o'clock Eastern game, so the actives and inactives won't come out until around 2:30 Eastern. Same for Deebo Samuel, questionable for San Francisco against Miami, another late game that you'll have to wait for. Sunday night game, Michael Gallup, illness questionable against the Colts. And then you have more from the Raiders game against the Chargers. Mike Williams for the Chargers. Doesn't look like he's going to play this weekend after re-aggravating that ankle injury. And Kansas City will be without Kadarius Toney as he won't play against the Bengals here for the hamstrings. Shocker there. I feel like I've seen Kadarius Toney miss games before somewhere, but I just, off the top of my head, can't quite recall where he was consistently absent from. But any of those injuries really sort of pique your interest there, Jared?
Deebo, I think the Niners offense right now is going to be in the crosshairs today, right? That game I think is the most, I don't want to say perplexing, because I actually think it's probably my favorite game of the year to handicap, because I wish that everyone was fully healthy. And I think that it actually makes it a little bit easier of a handicap because Miami's offensive tackles, really, those are the key injuries in that game. Yeah, Deebo is key. But that was, we wrote that up in the column this week. That was one of the plays on Wednesday when I wrote it up. And I was looking at it and I'm like, if those two tackles don't play for Miami, that's going to be a big problem for them offensively. And they aren't playing. And then on the other side now, you've got these Niners injuries to talk about. We know Elijah Mitchell's on IR, and then, you mentioned Deebo, and McCaffrey's a little banged up, and even Trent Williams left practice, I saw, with a back injury. I think he's going to play too. But again, the attrition nature of this sport, it does make the handicaps easier sometimes because it really isolates what the game plans are. For example, Miami loves to push the ball down the field. That's their MO. But are they going to be able to hold up front, in this game against the really good Niners pass rush? And I think that makes this game a little more played in a phone booth, which is why we gave out the under earlier this week. And, so far the market's agreed with us. We'll see if the game script agrees with us. But I think that Deebo Samuel injury and all of the injuries surrounding that Dolphins-Niners game really make it a little more intriguing, maybe a little bit more vanilla of an offensive game plan for both teams. But I definitely think it makes it more intriguing because I don't know on what side of the aisle Miami's offense is going to fall today, and we'll see who is available and how fresh some of these Niners weapons are for Jimmy G.
Let's get to some line moves for the week right now. You're looking at the Browns, who opened up at -8, now down to 6.5. And I know you have your eyes on that game. The Falcons originally were a pick against the Steelers. Now they're -1. The Seahawks opened at -4.5. -7 rather, now down to -4.5. I saw that move start to happen early this morning. And one game that's not on our rundown here, you have to take note, is the Chargers-Raiders game. Chargers opened up as a 2.5-point dog on the road. The Raiders are now a 2.5-point favorite on
Yeah,
the road.
that's what's up with
Complete
that?
line flip. Well, I mean, listen, the
And that
public ran. It's all public money. It's nothing but there's nothing sharp about this. All week long, you've just been seeing the Raiders get pounded here against the Chargers for whatever the reason is, and I'm not exactly sure, what is exactly everybody is seeing. Like, I like the Raiders today. I think that that's the right side, but I wouldn't bet them as a 2.5-point favorite.
I think there is some. I mean, I think that's what I'm seeing this morning with some of the tweet storms that our pals are doing for other media networks. That there is some sharp money coming in on the Raiders. I mean, maybe the public and both the sharps are on the Raiders this week. That's perfectly fair, but I definitely know the sharps favor the Raiders this week. I don't know if they favor them that much to where this line would flip. That is a pretty big move.
5 points.
That basically is 3-3. I mean, this thing opened last week, Chargers -3. And since then, it's been a steady decline, a descent into madness. And now the Raiders are a home favorite. The Chargers have been pretty good on the road, ATS. That's kind of been their MO. I think it's either 4 or 5-1 against the spread on the road this year. And that makes sense if you consider how overvalued their home field advantage is. But man, like the Chargers up front, I think that's like, to me, if I'm a sharp bettor, I'm not. That's where I would be isolating that move. The Chargers offensive line, obviously, we know Slater's been out for most of the year. Lindsley's out. Pipkins is banged up. Like, Justin Herbert's just a sitting duck back there. And the Raiders have been starting to turn up the heat with Chandler Jones and Max Crosby. The numbers I have say that they both combined for 15 pressures the other week against Seattle. And this is a team that didn't really get after the quarterback a whole lot the first few weeks of the year. And now the Raiders are really starting to turn up the heat. That 15 of the 24 pressures last week against Seattle came from Crosby and Jones. So those are the two guys to watch. If the Chargers O-line, one of the worst in football, lowest yards before first contact, multiple members of that offensive line allowed 4 pressures against the Cardinals. The rookie right guard, Zion Johnson, was awful, committed a penalty. So if the Chargers offensive line can't hold up against this Raiders D-line, which is starting again to turn up the heat, my guess is that's where this move originated from.
Also, just add, Chargers have one of the worst run defenses in the league, and Josh Jacobs leads the NFL in rushing and has been going off. I know we just talked about his injury, but by all accounts, he's going to play. Just two of the other line moves we talked about here. Browns -6.5 is the open now. People jumped, at least the public jumped on it, I think. I shouldn't say that, but I mean, look, this at 8 with Deshaun Watson not playing a game in the last 23 months, I don't know how you can back the Browns in this spot. Like, it's Texans or pass for me. Like, you have no idea what it's going to be like. Now, could you just take the handicap and go, Browns have a great run game. Texans have a horrible run defense. In fact, worst in the league, giving up nearly 170 yards a game on the ground. Sure, that could be, the handicap could be that simple. It just never is. It's never just one thing in the NFL. So for me, it's Texans or pass.
Yeah, and especially now that it's pushed past 7, I don't think there's a way. And it does look like there's some sharp money and some public money coming in on Cleveland here. I don't love to, I actually, ironically enough, I just saw one of the other shops tweeted out one of those big 6-figure major wagers on Cleveland. That's probably what's tipping this a little bit. Those bets only matter so much. I think they matter because, certain sports books get a lot of public money and they'll shade the line accordingly if they get a big bet like that. But the sports books that we pay the most attention to don't really do that. And most of them are at 8, though. The sharper shops are at 8 with this game. So I gave out 7 as my 3-star play. Obviously, I don't feel that great about it. Anytime you give out a 7 and it moves against you off of that key number significantly, you feel like you're on the wrong side of the aisle here. And I'll be honest, I do feel that way this morning. I feel like I might be missing something with this game. But I agree. I think there's variance here. And that's why I like the Texans at home, because I see a lot of obvious upside with Deshaun Watson. But I was talking with our producer Jacob before, and we were going over, what my play of the day is, and I will give this out as a play of the day, but it'll be with a grain of salt, right? But I'm a little worried that when you look at this game, Jacoby Brissett's been okay. Like, it's not like he's been stinking up the joint. Like, I've got him right now 10th in my quarterback efficiency ratings, and that's ahead of guys like Trevor Lawrence and Lamar Jackson and Tom Brady and Justin Herbert and Jared Goff. I mean, those guys are having okay seasons. It's not like those guys are stinking up the joint. So, Jacoby Brissett has played admirably in relief in this 12-week stretch, and the Deshaun Watson variance, I think, is why I think we could see a Texans close game here, maybe a cover, probably not an outright win, but certainly a close game. And then you look on the other side, and it's really the Browns defense that, scares me. I mean, do you trust this Browns defense to hold a lead? Couldn't hold a lead against Joe Flacco, couldn't hold a lead in multiple other situations in big games. And I think we're going to see this game played pretty close to the vest on Cleveland's side in terms of their strategy. They're going to run the ball. And when you run the ball a lot, it's hard to put distance between yourself and the other team. So I like the 7. I'll give it out today at 8 as a smaller play, as a best bet. But I think the variance here favors the home dog is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, Cleveland's also had problems stopping the run. And Damian Pierce has been a beast this year for the Houston Texans. All right, let's get prop here. Welcoming our good buddy, Bobby Stanley, a.k.a. Prop Holliday, our Pickswise prop specialist here on Let's Bet It as we get set for a Sunday full of props, and welcoming you now, Bobby. Good morning, and thank you for being here. Happy Sunday, brother.
Good morning, fellas. Happy Sunday.
What's up, bud?
Surprised to see you without the hat today.
I agree. I was going to say similar.
People, I did not know you had glorious flowing locks like Jared.
You do have great hair, bud. Why don't you show that hair off more often?
I got a haircut finally. It's been hard to get to the barbershop the last few weeks with the baby. I finally cleaned it up. We had our Christmas photo shoot this weekend, so I had to get the haircut. Decided to show it.
Did I make the Christmas card list?
You will.
They missed a little down here there, Bobby. They left a little bit.
My wife will leave me if I shave this.
You have to shave the whole thing off. You also don't have to, look like a faux Santa Claus there.
'Tis the season. No, but thank you guys for noticing. I greatly appreciate it.
You got it, buddy.
All right, let's notice what games you're on here. Big game between Cincinnati and the Kansas City Chiefs here this afternoon. Jamar Chase looks like he's going to be back. By all accounts, he's going to play. But you're not looking in his direction. You're looking somewhere else.
Yeah. From what I've read and from what I understand, he will be back and expect to be a full workload. Him going back on that wide receiver 1 duty. It moves Boyd down the pecking order, but it's a positive. Boyd hit this in 4 of 7 games with Chase versus 1 of 4 without him. And he hit it both games against the Chiefs last year. We look at the over-under total. It's 52.5, expecting it to be a shootout with the Chiefs. I look at slot receivers against the Chiefs this year. Greg Dortch, Chris Godwin, Christian Kirk, Keenan Allen all hit this line versus KC. So I do like Boyd to slide into that slot role where he has been, but he was getting a lot more attention without Jamar Chase in the lineup. Let him get that one-on-one coverage in the middle of the field. He should get 4 receptions, no problem.
This Bengals team is real interesting, and we're not talking futures today. We'll probably talk it tomorrow or Tuesday or one of the days next week. But, I mean, they're the defending AFC champs, and what are they, like the 5th team right now on the AFC odds board, despite the fact that their offensive line's playing a lot better. And obviously Joe Burrow is Mr. Assassin. We'll see with Mixon and Chase how healthy they are, but I do not overlook this Bengals team down the stretch because they're playing really good football right now. And I was really impressed with how their defense played last week, shutting down Derrick Henry. I mean, that was not what I expected his final numbers to be. And the defense, Lou Anarumo is a star. So this is a good Bengals team. And they've also got a pretty good tight end who you want to throw a sprinkle on today as a little bit of a long shot. Is that what I'm hearing? Or is CJ Uzomah not on the Bengals anymore? Is he on the different team now?
I'm sorry, man. I thought I was talking to a Jets fan. CJ Uzomah plays for the New York Jets.
I don't even know who's on the Jets unless his name is Mike White. I don't care, guys. That's it. That's the only guy. That's it. It's Mike White. Has CJ Uzomah caught a touchdown all season?
Not yet. Not with that attitude, he hasn't.
Until today.
Well, hear me out. You brought up Mike White, and we'll talk about CJ Uzomah. He's plus.
I bet a Mike White prop today. You'd be proud of me. Bobby. I bet 2 Mike White props today.
I'm hoping they're overs. CJ Uzomah plus 750, plus 750 to score a touchdown.
Wow.
So Mike White stole the headlines last week, but there was another drastic change that the Jets made that went completely overlooked. They win a season-high 12 personnel package, 2 tight ends, 51% of the time, 17% higher than they did the rest of the season. It made Mike White look extremely comfortable out there. Now, Uzoma played his second highest season snap. He played 77% of the snaps, right along Conklin. They had success, 68% success rate in that 12 personnel, 8.6 yards per play. I think they go back to that today. And as you pointed out, Uzoma gets his first touchdown of the day at plus 750. I threw $10 on it. I had to. And I'm rooting big for the Jets today on the road.
I love it.
That's what I'm
All right, you have one more play, Bobby. Raiders taking on the Chargers. We talked about this line flip a moment ago. Raiders now a 2.5-point home favorite. And part of the reason there's been some love for the Raiders. Look, I backed them the last couple of weeks, and I've been on the right side. I think they're playing inspired football. Josh McDaniels clearly wants to keep his job, even though he's got the vote of confidence from the owner. But all that talent couldn't be kept down for this long. And really, when you go down to it, they've only been blown out in one game. That was the Saints game. They were shut out 24-0. Everything else has been a one-score game that they've typically blown a lead in or ended up on the right side of. So the offense has really never been the problem, and Derek Carr isn't the problem either.
No, he hasn't. And I would say what really makes me love this play is Derek Carr over 1.5 passing touchdowns. It's minus 120. He's hit it in 66% of the games this season. Chargers allow it in 7 to 12. It's happened with some frequency, around 58, 60% of the time. But the Raiders O-line has played exceptional over the last 3 games. They're only allowing a pressure on 15% of dropbacks. Now, the Chargers, they're 29th overall in QB pressures this year. So he should have a good matchup. But the passing touchdowns, he's had 9 in the last 4 games. Of those 9, 6 of them have went for 24 yards or more. So he's getting comfortable, he's getting time, and he's hitting his receivers downfield for touchdowns. I love this at over 1.5. I was expecting it to be around minus 150. Getting it at minus 120 felt like a gift.
Yeah, I like it. All right, I'll give you my 2 Mike White. I mean, it's not like I'm reinventing the wheel here. Vikings secondary bad, Jets receivers good, Mike White over passing yards, over touchdowns 1.5. I got 259 for the yards and 1.5 for the touchdowns, both at minus 110. Am I going to be prop Smith after today, or am I going to go back into my hole? And I've only bet 6 props all season. Most of them are yours. We'll see how I do today on these 2. Maybe a little homerish, but who cares?
I like the Jets today. I do like Mike White. I think they have to replicate a lot of what they did last week. I'm curious how the run game shakes out. They have got 2 guys. I mean, Ty Johnson I'm familiar with. They have another rookie who's an undrafted free agent. And then James Robinson's been complaining all week. I'm not getting any touches. Why did you trade for me? I'm very,
it's
very
fair question to ask, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, from what I've read, they want a one-cut and get-upfield running back. That is not James Robinson.
Not
it never has been James Robinson. So why you traded for him is another story. But with Mike White, I do think we're going to see them replicate some success on offense, get him comfortable, short yardage passes, and then open up a deep play. 259 seems reasonable, especially against this Minnesota defense. We saw what the Cowboys did a few weeks ago. So yeah, man, I'm riding the Jets wagon. I'm riding Gang Green with a bunch of my friends.
Bobby, before we let you go, Jared and I were discussing one prop today I want to get your thoughts on. While it seems sort of square and obvious, we'll do it anyway. George Kittle against the Miami Dolphins, his receiving yards prop today is at 45. The Dolphins on average this year give up 6.5 receptions on nearly 8 targets for around 60 yards per game. They allow one of the teams that allow more fantasy points to tight ends in the NFL here. It seems almost too easy. George Kittle obviously going to be a big part of this offense here. Miami's pass defense has been bad all year. Are we on the right side or the wrong side on this one?
I think you're on the right side. And Kittle's been kind of a Jekyll and Hyde guy all season. He blows up, then he gets really, really quiet. You don't hear anything from him. Miami overall, 29th in DVOA against tight ends. You pointed out the yardage. They're giving up 7 pass attempts per game. If he can get pass attempts per game to opposing tight ends, if he can get that 4 reception mark, I think he blows this out of the water. And revenge, I guess, is the theme of the weekend. There's so many different revenge scripts, individuals, Deshaun Watson, AJ Brown. This entire Miami San Fran game is a revenge script. As far as coaching, players on both sides of the team, I do like Kittle in this spot. Is Debo maybe banged up? I think I saw he was on the injury report, but he's still expected to play. Yeah, give me Kittle. Anything under 48.5, I feel good.
All right. Any other final thoughts, Bob, before we let you get out of here on your Sunday? Any other plays, picks, games that you love?
Not entirely. I did like Detroit at home. Jacksonville 1-4 as road underdogs. They played exceptionally well against Buffalo on Thanksgiving. I really do like Detroit. If they can get to 5-7, throw their name in the wild card hat. I don't want to see an entire NFC East wild card slate this year. So let's get.
Why not? That'd be so much fun. I know Mark would love it. Get his Giants into the playoffs.
Yeah. Listen, their season is on.
And they get beat by the Cowboys in the wild card round.
All right, Bobby, you enjoy your Sunday. Go ahead, buddy.
Sorry, go ahead. I was saying Detroit just stands out for me for one game. There was some line movement on my LA Rams at home. They were 7-point underdogs at home.
I don't know what to make of that, to be perfectly honest with you. I really don't. I bet the over in that game because I actually think Walford and Perkins can't play any worse than last week, and Walford will be a step up. And listen, Geno Smith, I mean, he's having an unbelievable year. And this both defenses are not exactly murderers row here, especially the Rams without Aaron Donald, I think is very noteworthy. So without game at 41, that total felt a little light.
There's definitely some credence to that. John Walford will get the ball up and downfield. Whether they get it in the end zone is another story.
And McVay will play the hot hand. Like if Walford's struggling, they'll bring Perkins in. If Perkins is struggling, like McVay doesn't care. One of those guys is going to be the starter the last 4 weeks of the year because Stafford's hurt. So McVay will just say, all right, whoever's hot stays in. I don't need the Rams. I only need the Rams to score like 17. I think the Seahawks do the rest of the work there at 41.
It's a tryout in LA. One other name, Ashawn Robinson. He's the big D tackle for the Rams who lines up next to Aaron Donald. He is out today with Aaron Donald. Kenneth Walker, he's a guy, I think his line is 72.5. I love it. Him to get in the end zone, I think is minus 110. Yeah, no, it's setting up to be a big Kenneth Walker game. Can you put a stamp on it?
Seahawks are going to move the ball today. The Rams have no home field advantage. Fast track at SoFi. The Seahawks are going to move the football today, no doubt.
No, so those are my leans, guys. Thank you so much for having me. Go see CJ Uzoma.
All right, enjoy your Sunday.
CJ Uzoma. That's the bet of the day right there, plus 750.
Holliday, Holliday. All right, Jared. Key games for Week 13 in the NFL. Titans at Eagles. Eagles laying 4.5 at home. Total of 44. Titans 4-1 in their last 5 meetings. The home team in the series 5-1 against the number in their last 6, and the over has gone 4-1 in the last 5. What do you see from this game here?
Yeah, sharp on the Titans here. Pretty much one-way traffic all week since this line opened 6.5, 7. And now I even saw it touch 4 at one shot before. Actually, no, it's kind of, halfway in between 4 and 4.5 right now. So it might close at 4, which, you go from 7 to 4 on the look ahead. That's a pretty significant move. So clearly there's some buzz in the market for the Titans. And listen, Tennessee is an underdog. Didn't work out for us last week when we bet them +3, but I thought they were in that game. They just made some un-Titan-like mistakes on special teams. Yeah, exactly. I think that game, if you play that game out 100 times, I think the Titans cover the 3 more than they don't. It was a tight game, and Tennessee was just on the wrong end of a 1-point loss against the spread. I know it closed closer to a pick 'em, but we did get on that earlier in the week. My guess is this game kind of plays out the same way. I think the Eagles' offensive line has to play significantly better than they've been playing over the last few weeks. They've definitely, I don't want to say they've hit a wall, but this is an Eagles team that was playing their best football earlier in the season. And I think now, it's not really gimmicky. Jalen Hurts is a very talented quarterback, and they've got a lot of talent on the outside. Obviously, everyone's going to be talking about A.J. Brown and what that matchup's going to look like with his revenge game. I'm sure they're going to get him the ball in certain spots, but I really think this game is won in the trenches. Mike Vrabel off a loss as a bigger underdog than he was last week. That's where I would lean here. And I saw, you're talking about this game for your play of the day, so I'm sure you have a strong feeling about it. But I definitely wouldn't lay it with Philly in this spot. Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah, we'll get to that coming up here a little more in a moment. Some other key games here. Chiefs and Bengals, we've started to dissect this one already. I mean, look, This is the run the Bengals are on right now, and just make of it what you will. Road win against the arch rival Pittsburgh Steelers, road win at the Titans, and now coming home to face a Bengals team that they beat in Cincinnati last year, beat in Kansas City in the playoffs. I don't want to step in front of the Bengals for a third consecutive week because I took the Steelers plus the 4.5. I took the Titans last week. I don't know if I'm going to lay the 2 here with the Chiefs. For me, it's probably Bengals will pass. I'll probably sit back, Jared, and just watch this game comfortably and be entertained by it. But, I don't know what side you're on. I would lean Bengals in this spot.
I agree. Again, I think if you want to bet the Bengals, first of all, at 2, it's a high total game. At 2, just bet the money line, right? That's first things first. Second of all, if you are a believer in the Bengals, like I said, if the Bengals win this game today, they are, I don't want to say in the driver's seat in the AFC, but their AFC standing becomes significantly more prominent after today. Because down the stretch, they've got some tough games over the next few weeks, Bucks, Pats, Bills, Ravens. So I could see them definitely dropping some games. But this is, to me, the linchpin game that's going to determine whether or not the Bengals need to be really taken seriously as a repeat contender in the AFC. If they go toe-for-toe with the Chiefs at home today, and I don't see any reason, this line's telling you they are, I don't see any reason that they can't, I would take a flyer on them to either win the AFC or win the Super Bowl. We bet them to win the AFC North multiple weeks ago, at 3-1, at 250. So I've got a couple tickets in my back pocket still, futures money on Cincinnati that I feel good about because, listen, Baltimore's been really inconsistent this year. Pittsburgh, obviously, a year away with Pickett and Cleveland. Who knows what's gonna transpire today with Deshaun Watson. So I think this Bengals offense, which we know is really good, but the bugaboo was the offensive line. Well, the offensive line's playing better over the last few weeks. They've only allowed 2 pressures against the Titans, and that's a really good Titans defense. 45 pass blocking snaps. They allowed 2 pressures on Joe Burrow. I mean, he could sit back and have a cup of tea and, lunch back there last week against Tennessee, and that was not what I was expecting in terms of what the handicap said with the Titans defense. So the Chiefs defense creates significantly less pressure and is significantly less stiff up front than the Titans are. So if Joe Burrow can go on the road to Tennessee and sit back just chilling, in the pocket, I don't see any reason why he can't have another good day today. Now, obviously, Mixon being out changes the way that they run the football. But, man, if Mixon's back and their offensive line's playing well and they got Chase and Higgins and Boyd on the outside, I mean, they are a dangerous football team on offense. And we talked about how good Lou Anarumo's been defensively, scheming up ways to shut down good offenses. Very different offense you're facing this week. You go from Tennessee, which is ground and pound, to now Patrick Mahomes and this spread it out Chiefs offense that likes to do a lot of tricks and gizmos and gadgets. So we'll see how Lou handles the scheme today, but this matchup's going to have a lot of fight to it. These teams don't like each other. Kansas City really doesn't like Cincinnati after what they did last year. So I'm fascinated to see if the emotion gets the better of them or if they're able to handle themselves and keep their composure on the road, tough environment against the defense that's playing some of its best ball of the year. I think other than Dolphins-Niners, this is my favorite game of the day to watch. I don't think I'm going to bet it. I think I'm with you. I think this is a pass, and I think we either take a little slice of the Bengals futures or we just sit back and absorb and watch and see how Cincinnati's defense handles this test, because I think this is a big game for both teams. And in one injury note, Joe Thuney, the right guard for the Chiefs, is out today, and that's important because Nick Allegretti last week really struggled against the Titans' interior defensive line. Well, the Bengals, against who'd they play last week? The Rams and Aaron Donald. I think that's important because you're going to see DJ Reader have a really good game on the interior. So I could really see the Bengals controlling both lines of scrimmage in this game. And if that's the case, I think they're going to win the game.
Then finally, I don't know how the NFL schedule makers missed this one with all the games they got this week. The fact that they left the Cowboys and the Colts on Sunday night. Thank you, NFL. Like I want to watch Matt Ryan throw the picks tonight. All things aside from that, Cowboys and Colts, Cowboys laying 10.5. I got to tell you here, I mean, I feel like this game goes similar to what Miami and Houston was last week. I think the Cowboys blow this team out of the water. I think the Cowboys get an early lead. They take Jonathan Taylor in the run game out of this thing. Forget about it. It's Pound City for the Dallas Cowboys. And that's the power of the star, by the way, why they're still on Sunday Night Football against a bad Colts team. But I don't see any other way. It's either Cowboys or pass.
Yeah, I don't want anything to do with this game.
I get it.
I think the reason why they kept it in prime time was some half-brain cockamamie theory that the Cowboys would have Odell Beckham this week, which for entertainment value, I get it, but the Colts back-to-back weeks in prime time, this one was avoidable. I don't get it. I don't understand what the reasoning is. I don't know if it's giving Jeff Saturday more exposure. I think that's the last thing that guy needs. And if anything, I think it's going to hurt his chance. I think the more national exposure Jeff Saturday gets in this environment where he's clearly a little bit, over his head with what's happening. I mean, we saw it transpire a little bit last week. That Raiders game is so far in the past because they've looked so bad in the 2 weeks since that I don't know what the reasoning is to keep the Colts in primetime. That being said, the Colts defensive line should eat in this game. I mean, the Cowboys defensive line should absolutely eat in this game. The Colts offensive line has been average to below average at best, and Matt Ryan's a sitting duck. And you saw even Daniel Jones last week, who's a mobile sitting duck, couldn't really escape the pressure that this Cowboys defense was going to bring. And now you're telling me that Matt Ryan's back there on the road? Ugh, bad spot. Dallas or pass, but really this is a pass game, I think, for me.
All right, let's turn our attention to some teasers here, Jared. A lot of opportunities out there. I know you wrote this up in your column on Pickswise.com, but let's talk some teasers right now. Like I said, plenty of opportunities out there. Where are you going?
Yeah, well, credit to you because earlier in the week when we did this teaser segment, you told me to put the Raiders in there, and I didn't. And now I would have been feeling really good about myself as they close as a 2.5 point favorite when we could have gotten them 1.5, 2 through those both keys earlier in the week. So that's a missed opportunity on the teaser front. The teaser that I did bet, and it is still available for you to bet if you'd like, it is the Commanders. Well, actually, I take that back. The Broncos-Ravens line has moved through that teaser protection number of 9. So it's not as juicy, but let's be honest. I think the Ravens blow out the Broncos today. But the teaser that I did bet, and I'm holding in my back pocket, is Ravens -2, Giants +8.5. And we just got news Chase Young won't play. So I think that's big. And listen, your thoughts matter too on this Giants game. You watch this team closer than anyone. I mean, I feel like they play a close game every week. Even last week when they were getting blown out, they still found a way to manage to cover that game. And I think this is a Giants team that just thrives in close games. And Washington, I can't see them putting a lot of margin between themselves in a divisional game on the road. And then obviously the Ravens-Broncos handicap is about as simple as it gets. Bounce back spot, Russell Wilson on the road, fade city. So that's the teaser this week. Ravens and Giants.
Yeah, I'm getting more nauseated by the minute about this Giants game. I wanted to put them in a teaser today. I couldn't do it. I couldn't. I just because of my own fandom more than anything else. Because I think that there is a potential for them to lose this game by double digits. But Washington, as you said, doesn't really separate from anybody. But this is the Giants' season, ostensibly, Jared. If they lose this game, they won't make it to the playoffs. That's essentially what it boils down to. Just given the divisional record, they'll be 0-3 in the division at this point, and they won't recover. So I don't know that there is much left for them to accomplish. If they can't win this game outright at home, they likely are not going to the playoffs, especially if the Seahawks end up beating the Rams, which looks like it's a veritable possibility with Perkins, Wolford not going to play next year, quarterback starting for Los Angeles and all the injuries that they have. I would tell you this, though. You talked about the Raiders game. Jared, it's not a bad idea now that the line is flipped to throw the Chargers at +8.5. I mean, the Raiders, with the exception of the Texans, the Raiders haven't beaten anybody by margin this year. Every game they're involved in is a close game. So I think there's value there. And I'll throw you one more, and it's very unconventional. It's not your traditional Wong teaser. But if you like Tennessee getting the 4, why not take them to 10.5, 4.5? Why not take them to 10.5? I mean,
I don't have a listen. There's a lot of debate, and I know the Sharps get really upset when we tease when we don't do Wong teasers. But I don't have a problem with teasing through 7 and 10. I don't have a problem. There's been so many one-score games in the NFL this year. I never have an issue anytime a guy or a girl wants to tease a game through one score, even if it's from 2 to 8 or if it's from 4 to 10. It's the same kind of vibe. I know it's not as valuable. I mean, plus EV.
I would tell you this.
It's still a good bet, I think.
if you're strong on the Titans plus the 4.5, okay? Because generally what I always say to teasers, if you wouldn't bet the line straight up, don't tease it, right? Like
I agree.
If I wouldn't take the Raiders plus 2.5, then I'm not going to tease them just to get a more favorable number. Like the Tennessee Titans are a play that I like today. So I don't think it's the worst thing in the world to do so, right? I mean, I generally get the idea of long teasers where you might not like a team catching just 2.5, but you love them getting more than a touchdown. The ideology. But if I love a team that, getting the points, then I don't necessarily think it's the worst thing in the world, even if it defies conventional logic. So that's just my 2 cents. Again, I'm by no means the foremost expert on any of this stuff.
No,
but
don't. And that's a great, but that is a great point, because we see this all the time. And for most of the people that are watching our show, you're on social media, you follow a lot of the other sharps, and you see what they tweet about, us media squares betting teasers that aren't, the perfect, fit inside the perfect box of what they view as a good bet. First of all, there's an entertainment value to this that they don't care about because they do this for money. Second of all, it's not the worst bet in the world. Like, it's not teasing through 0. It's not the ideal teaser, but you can make a lot worse teaser bets than going from 4.5 to 10.5 in a low total game. Let's just leave it at that. There's a lot of worse teasers that I can think of than that. And for anyone out there that likes the Titans, don't be discouraged just because it's not the ideal teaser. Obviously, we want to make good bets every day. That's our goal. But that's not the worst bet to make. And I like the Titans today too, so I don't see any reason why they can't keep that game close.
And just for kicks and giggles, we'll add one more. When you're in a pick'em spot with the Steelers and the Falcons, 2 teams that don't separate from anybody, especially now if the Falcons are a 1-point dog at home, taking them to 7, maybe, if you have the option to buy a half point to get it to 7.5 just to cover yourself, is not a bad play at all if you can find something else you really want to tease it with. So there is that. But again, teasers are always a risky proposition at best. All right, before we get to our plays today and Pickswise.com, the website here, let's remind you that Let's Bet It is presented by Superbook Sports. Pile up the wins and pile up the money with Superbook. Right now, the best betting app from Las Vegas, giving you free money every week you make a bet. Just place a $50 bet each week. Superbook. They'll give you a $5 bonus up to $50 for betting each week afterwards. If you're in Arizona, Colorado, Iowa, Nevada, New Jersey, or Tennessee, download the Superbook Sports app or visit superbook.com to get your streak started today. Jared, I know you have a column up on Pickswise.com. We have several 3-star plays up on the website. Tee us up on what we should put their eyes on.
We got a lot today. Howard Bender's checking in, Broncos, Ravens. Andrew Ortenberg, Falcons, Steelers. You're going to like his pick for Commanders, Giants. Howard also chiming in, Chiefs, Bengals. I'll give you the over in Rams, Seahawks. I'll give you the under in Niners, Dolphins. And I'll give you the Jets +3. Those are the other picks that I have in the column that we didn't mention today. And then the final pick, Texans +7. I'll give you 8 today. You're getting a point better, but on the website, it's Texans +7 as my 3-star play of the day. Even though it's my 3-star play, I'm allocating all of my NFL plays. I have 5 of them, 2 sides, 2 totals, 1 teaser, and then, of course, the 2 props, which I just gave out. Those are 1-unit plays. But the other core bets that are in the column this week, even though one of them is my 3-star and the other ones are just 2 stars, I'll give you all 5 bets for 2 units. So I'm kind of over this is a 5-unit bet and this is a 1-unit bet. I try to keep them as balanced as possible because it's really hard to separate what's really 3 units and what's 2 units and what's 1 unit. The props I tend to bet lower on because they're props. But the sides, the totals, the teasers, I'm trying to keep consistent, either 2 or 3 units. In this case, all 5 bets in the column this week are 2 units. And in Texans +7, we talked about this game. Now it's 8 for my best bet of the day. I think there's a lot of variance in this game. And I think if I was going to lean on the variance to one side or the other, I would go against where Deshaun Watson just steps onto the field and reverts to his form from 700 days ago when he last played an NFL game with the Texans. There's going to be a lot of emotion, a lot of energy around this game. The Texans, are going to be fired up. I think the Browns are going to be fired up too. And I'm sure Deshaun Watson will have his moments here, but the defense for Cleveland is why I fail to get to the window on them laying more than a score. I really struggle. Their defensive efficiency ratings are below where the Texans are. So the Texans have the better defense. They're at home. They're catching now more than a touchdown. And there's a lot of variance with Cleveland's quarterback situation. So I kind of feel like this is going to be one of those games that's played very close to the vest. The Browns are going to run the football. The clock's going to be moving. A lot of one-score games, the most in NFL history through the first 12 weeks of the season. Why not this game being a one-score margin? So we'll give you the Texans +8, 7 in the column. Hopefully they lose by 3, right? But I think this is going to be a close game, and I think there's going to be a lot of emotion around it. So Texans +8 as the best bet of the day here on Let's Bet It.
All right, for my play of the day, I'm going to go to the inaugural A.J. Brown Bowl as Tennessee will visit Philadelphia in a game where the Titans are catching 4.5 here. I talked about this already. Give me the Titans plus the 4.5 here for a variety of reasons. And let's start with some of the easier ones. Philadelphia's run defense has been gashed as of late, particularly last week against the Packers on the ground. What do the Titans have? Some guy named Derrick Henry. Now, I know the Eagles have countered and gotten Ndamukong Suh and Linval Joseph to beef up their defensive front. That doesn't matter to me because Tennessee can still get outside with Derrick Henry. He's fast enough to turn the corner, and they will rely on him. I know Tennessee's offense isn't anything to get excited about, and they haven't really been able to throw the ball all that well. But the fact that this total is at 44 tells me odds makers believe this will be a low-scoring game, and that always is going to favor this Tennessee defense. What really sells me on this game more than anything is Mike Vrabel as a coach. One, he's a great underdog coach and a great cover coach, has been throughout his entire career. But as a Belichick disciple, what does Mike Vrabel do well, and what does he do the best? That is take away what you do really well. If you look at the Titans this year, when they have faced these high-level mobile quarterbacks like they did with Patrick Mahomes and holding him to 20 points, like they did with Joe Burrow, like they have done in the past against Josh Allen, they have had major success against slowing these teams down offensively, and that's exactly what he'll do. He'll spy Jalen Hurts, he'll keep him contained, and won't allow him to go nuts. From that standpoint, I think this does end up being a low-scoring game. And lo and behold, Jared, we sat here less than a month ago and talked about, could the Eagles be undefeated? Now starting to see some cracks in the veneer. That defense gave up 32 to Washington. They gave up 33 to Packers. Neither one of those offenses are great. The Titans' offense isn't great, but you're also getting into a part of the Eagles' schedule where they are starting to face some legit competition. The Commanders, the Packers, they'll get the Titans. They got a road game against the Giants. They got to go to Dallas still. This is the tough part of the Eagles' schedule. I think they come back down to earth a little bit. I'll take the Titans plus 4.5 here in Philadelphia for my play of the day.
Love it. Yeah, right. I'm probably going to be tailing you on it. So let's do it.
I mean, listen, it was my first look of the week. I jumped on it early. Didn't want to wait. I feel like it's the right side here. Let's hope we can get something to bounce our way here and continue doing well on plays of the day. So for Jared Smith, I'm Mark Zinno. Again, download the Pickswise app. It's available on the Apple Store and Google Play. Subscribe to the Pickswise YouTube channel. Don't forget to leave your comments. Give a thumbs up and like to all the content there as well. Wishing you guys a wonderful Sunday. Go cash some tickets. Have a great day. Back tomorrow for another edition of Let's Bet It. Go get it. Go bet it. Have a great day.